Sup nerds, I'm Tom, and I'm going to talk to you all about Trajan, which is a bit of an older game, but it was recently reprinted by Renegade Games, so I'm going to talk about it. Trajan is an extremely dry game, and it's an extremely bland game, and, it's a very quiet game. It's very thinky, a lot of analysis paralysis. And it's, again, one of those games where a few years ago I would have looked at. In fact, I did look at it. I think I saw the older printing on sale at Barnes & Noble or something, and I was looking at it and I was like, ugh, whatever this is, this just ain't for me. However, while this game certainly is bland and dry, what it certainly is not is boring. This game is really deep and has a lot of complexity to it, but it can be boiled down in a very, very simple manner. You're going to choose one of the 6 actions that you can do in a Mancala fashion. You're going to pick up these different beads and you're going to drop them 1, 2, 3, going around the circle, and then wherever you land, that's the action you're going to take. And these 6 different actions correlate to the 6 different areas of the board that all give you points in different ways. This top part here is kind of an area control game. These parts here is set collecting of cards and selling them for points. This area is getting bonus tiles and the goods that you need for the end of the round. So it's an additional thing. There's a demand at the end of the round. This here is sort of like a king of the hill type of thing where we're trying to be more of just being at the, fighting over this track. I guess you could call that king of the hill. And in this area, you're trying to collect sets of these different tiles, but by moving a guy around and spreading around. And obviously, there's a lot more to it than that. But once you learn the rules of the game, it kind of feels like that's about it, right? You're just staring at your board saying, which of these actions is the best for me to do? And it is in that point salad fashion. If you've heard that term before, obviously, Stefan Feld game, maybe you've heard that his games are very point salady. And it is true that when you pick an area and you really dominate it, you can do really, really well. The problem is, because of the Mancala thing, you can't exactly take the action that you want every single time. And you do have to think kind of far ahead. You kind of have to gear up, so to speak. So if I pick up all these things and I go bop, 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 I'm now seeding this one has 1, this one has 1, this one has 1. So which of those actions that I just added to am I going to pick up from to then move around? And it is kind of hard to think about because you can look at, you have to look at a tile and say, ooh, 3. That means it has 3 tokens in it. Since this action is 3 away from this action, that's great. That's exactly what I want. You have to kind of look at the action you want and work backwards. Say 1 away, oh, there's more than 1 there. 2 away, oh, there's more than 2 there. 3 away, oh, there's more than 3 there, or there's less than 3 there, So it's a really wonky and funky way of thinking, but once you get the hang of it, though, it actually goes really fast. And I'm surprised about that. Now, granted, this game you can be prone to analysis paralysis, really staring. Like I just said, you need to really analyze your board in that weird rotary phone fashion. You need to think multiple turns ahead. But outside of a person who's really prone to AP doing that, you can kind of figure out your plan, and as you're working through it, just like you do your turn and you're staring at your board, and by the time it comes back around to your turn, you figure it out, and then you do your turn, and by the time it comes back around to you. Because again, yes, not a lot of player interaction. Probably some of the least amount of player interaction. You can get to something before anybody else does. This area right here probably has the most because you can kind of sort of contest areas in a way. The bottom part here too, this track, whoever's the furthest on the track will get a bonus tile here. So there's player interaction there. But again, it's all I did the thing before you did the thing, no real direct interaction. So you'll stare at your board and you'll be thinking about your turn. And unless and it'll almost be this person's done with their turn. You kind of glance over at what they did. Okay, that doesn't affect me. Glance over at what they did. Okay, that doesn't affect me. It's as long as these 3 things don't happen, it doesn't affect my plan. Not so much of I'm going to watch your turn to then see what I'm going to do on my turn. But again, I'm really surprised at how much I liked it. It's super bland and dry, and I guess that's probably one of my biggest complaints. Well, let me back that up. The few complaints that I do have with this game, because I really enjoyed it, I had a lot of fun with it. However, like I always say, no game is perfect, so there's a couple issues. The first thing is, when I say that there's 6 different actions, right, and you go to eat, there's the 6 different areas, and they all score points in different ways. When I take that action of a certain area, it's not necessarily one action. There are a couple of options. Like I can put a guy here in this area, or I can move a guy over here to claim a tile. And I think the card one is the one with the most. You can draw one card or you can draw one card, discard one, or so. I can't even remember. So it has a draw two, discard one, take from the discard pile, just play into your personal tableau and draw back up. Or you can set sail, so to speak, where you take the cards and you play them out, and you get points based on if they're the same or not the same, or pairs and whatever, which is the main action of this ship area. That's kind of why you're drawing these cards. But I do remember having to ask every single time I would think about the ship action. I would have to be like, wait. So how exactly do I get to draw these cards back up again? Because it's a couple of different things, and the issue with that is that there's no player aid. There's no little card that I can have in front of me that just has a picture of the symbol and a tiny little reminder of everything you can do at all those different areas. Which leads me into my second complaint, which is probably the bigger complaint. This game was reprinted, but it's an older game that's reprinted by Renegade. Now, I don't really know exactly what goes into that reprint process, whether they really have the time and resources to do like a graphic overhaul, or if they're just kind of paying for or in charge of the next print run. I don't really know, so it's hard for me to fault them, but I do feel like, the best part about a reprint is the opportunity to upgrade the game. And, I would have really liked to see the board not be so bland, add some more color to it, pump things up a little bit, just modernize it a little bit, and include in there some player reference cards, because that would have been super duper helpful. But, again, like I said, it's hard for me to fault them because I don't know exactly, if this was it, right? Like they didn't have the opportunity. It was impossible at that time with the resources or whatever to do a graphic overhaul. Sure, print it versus not print it, right? But if the opportunity ever does come for this game to have a facelift, not more than just the box, they changed the box art and the cover, but if they have a chance to do that for everything else and add a few more pieces in. Now, granted, the quality isn't bad. This isn't thin cardboard, and these wooden pieces are nice. So all of that is good. If you can get over the blah of the colors and everything, well, with the exception of these little, and maybe that's part of it. These little pieces are really bright colors that make all the pastels of the rest of the board, look muted in comparison. But obviously I enjoyed the game a lot, so until that happens, I'm not getting rid of this copy or something. Come on. And it really is a game that I would play at least once a month. It's not going to be for everybody, again, it's really dry and very Euro and not a lot of player interaction. But of the games that are very point salad dry Euros, and you tend to like that thing, this one is awesome. I think it's starting to become a bit of a modern classic in a lot of people's collections, and I highly, highly recommend that you check this game out. So I'm going to put a purchase link in the description box down below for you to get yourself a copy, and while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you'll never be bored. Well, this game is really dry and really bland. What it definitely isn't is what? Wait.